Okay.
You're all set.
Awesome. I'll go ahead and start. Well, thank you all for being here by default, I guess, but hopefully it will be an interesting presentation anyway. I hope that I'll try to keep it interesting. So I'm here to tell you about what I used my 2022 research grant for, which was to support research activities for the APUS Analog Research Group. And these are some of my co-presenters who couldn't be here today, but Scott Van Hoy is a graduate student here at APUS. He is our program manager, and then Diallo Wallace and Bill O'Hara are two other faculty members in the Space Studies department, and they are faculty advisors for this program. And so for those of you who may not know, just to give you a little update, the APUS Analog Research Group, which we call ourselves ARG, little pirate reference there, is a program that was started in 2019. These are our 5 purposes. Basically what we do is we train and prepare student and faculty crews to serve as in space analog missions, which are terrestrial environments that are specifically designed to mimic the space environment. So they're living like astronauts, but they're just not in space. They're here on Earth, and especially to perform research in those analogs, and research that will further space exploration and be useful, and the research that NASA, for example, is interested in and other departments are interested in. We are multidisciplinary. Many of you, I beg to post our flyers, because we like to recruit from all of STEM, but more than that, we love to recruit from communications and management and psychology, and we would love to get nursing out of that list, or healthcare anyway. We have a lot of medical-based projects. So, anyone who thinks you might be interested at all, let me know, and I will be happy to push our recruitment materials to you. And I'm not going to read through all of these, but basically, just to give you an idea, we are a student managed and faculty advised program, which means that most of our mission planners are students, and most of our crew members are students. We do have a few faculty who will come on, but our students get to be in the command positions, they get to be in the mission control positions, they get to be in the mission planning. And then as faculty, we're there to support, to advise, kind of guide a little bit, and to help them to meet those goals. So it's a really amazing hands-on type of experience in an online environment. So I wanted to first just give you a feel for what we've done. As I said, we started our first mission at the end of 2019, but for this presentation, what I want to do is focus on the missions that were funded specifically by the 2022 grant. So these all occurred last year. So the first one is ARG-2I. So the nomenclature here, ARG is the name of our group, and then 2I is because it was our second mission to the ILMA facility. And ILMA is the Inflatable Lunar Mars Analog Habitat, which is located on the University of North Dakota campus. And we've cultivated a really nice collaborative partnership with the University of North Dakota, in which we have a discounted rate to use their habitat. We have 2 standing slots, one in the spring and one in the fall of each year. It affords our students the opportunity to perform research over multiple missions, which is really important because these are, 2-week missions with a crew of 4 people. So it's a really small N. You need several missions in order to get enough data to really be able to say something. So this is, a fantastic opportunity. I just want to give you a brief overview to the 2I crew, which was our spring crew of last year. And you can see these are the names of the crew. This was an all grad student crew at the time. Our motto, they like to come up with these Latin mottos. I don't know, the students really love these. So nun non sunt nobis parata. I'm probably butchering that, but it means they didn't see us coming. They found that really amusing. It's kind of an inside joke. Anyway, I can explain that if you want me to, but I won't right now. But this is just an idea of some of the research projects that were done on this specific mission. The spirulina algae is pictured here with these little test tubes, and in the middle, to the side of it, this is our simulated EVA rescue with our dummy Kurt astronaut who's become kind of the face of the program. Kurt is our little dummy that they like to bring on the missions. He's a lot of fun. We've done some mobility studies. You can see those in the top and bottom here in these EVA suits. You can see down here in the bottom left, two of the students, that's Terry and Sarah, who were analyzing some of the data from some of the plant studies, one of the plant studies being the spirulina, and the other up here in the top left corner being a microgreen. These little white things are each little grow pods, and they have microgreens growing in there. And so that's kind of a fun one. Okay, in the interest of time, I'm going to go on kind of quickly. So our fall mission was ARG 3I. And this again was this was a mixed graduate and undergraduate crew, which I love that we got some undergraduates in there. Pretty cool. And the motto, tertio est leporum, third time's the charm. It's a fun one. So this mission was really interesting because we got to participate in a study through a collaboration between University of North Dakota and the Canadian Space Agency. The researcher at the Canadian Space Agency is actually a former member of our group, ARG. So she's an APUS alum who's doing her doctoral research at the Canadian Space Agency. And because of her involvement in ARG and the collaboration we have with UND, when she went to Canada, she was able to further that connection and be a part of this study, which is called the cardio breath study. That's what you see here on the bikes. This is a study which is actually being done concurrently on the ISS and at ILMA in the analog. So we get to be part of a project that's an actual NASA-funded study, a collaboration between NASA and the Canadian Space Agency, and that, you know, we're participating alongside actual astronauts. So that's pretty amazing. Then we also did, again, our EVA suits here. This crew had a lot of fun, as you can tell from the pictures. They were serious. They got a lot of work done, but they had a lot of fun as well. They did some unique studies like water electrolysis, the ability to generate oxygen from water. So you could, you know, in case of, the goal of the study was in case of something where you needed to keep someone alive. Can you generate enough to keep someone alive for 15 minutes, which they were able to do, which was pretty cool. We do a whole slew of psychology studies during this. Humanure is an interesting plant growth study. It's basically using, we'll just say, natural manure products to generate plant growth and to create a closed system in space, which is something we talk about a lot. And finally, I also wanted to highlight the ARG-1M crew. So the name is a little bit different. M stands for MDRS, which is the Mars Desert Research Station. This is the habitat pictured here at the bottom. It's another analog facility run by the Mars Society, and it started at the end of January and February of this year, but it was funded partially with last year's grant and this year's grant. This was a slightly larger crew. We had 8 on this crew because it's a larger facility, and so you can see it's a mix of graduate, undergraduate, and even one of our faculty members who were able to participate on it. They looked at some botany studies. They looked at SAR's search and rescue, as well as some logistics studies with the EVA using supply caches. We looked at space-flown seeds. These are seeds that have actually been on the International Space Station for a period of months, so exposed to the space environment, radiation, and all of that. And then the idea is, can they still grow? That's important to know, because if we take seeds with us to the moon or Mars, those seeds will be exposed during the trip. So that's an interesting study. MDRS is unique because it has an actual observatory. That's one of these little dome structures here. The smaller one is the observatory. And so we did some astronomy studies there. And then again, some sort of psychology-based studies on mindfulness, as well as facial emotion recognition. So I just wanted to give you an overview. Analog research it's dynamic, it's diverse. This is an overview, not necessarily just from 2022, but since from the inception of ARG, one of the students created this cool little pie chart here, which I had to throw in because I love pie charts. But it just kind of shows the range of different research topics that we've done. You can see botany takes up a lot of them. That's really common in analog studies. We've also got a big chunk for EVA and psychology studies, as well as nutrition studies. But I just kind of wanted to give you an overall feel for what we mean when we say it really is diverse. There's so many different opportunities for different research studies that you can do in these analog missions. And it's one of the reasons that we're so excited about them. So research, our name is the Analog Research Group. Research is the heart of what we do. It's really fun to be a crew member. It's an amazing experience for the students. But what we are really interested in is, are they getting research out of this? And are we getting some real results that are meaningful for the whole space community? So we put a lot of effort into teaching students the research process. We have training and reference videos that support ideation as well as development of research ideas. We provide support through the IRB process. And we also have a growing pool of subject matter experts to guide students through that. And again, if anyone on this call has any interest at all in being an SME, we would love to add you to our list. We also have a research coordination team. So some of our students go on missions, but as you've seen, those numbers are small. We actually have about 30 active members in the group, and most of them are on the mission planning side, the mission support side. The research coordination team is part of mission support. And so we have students who, we train them in what they're supposed to do, and then they interface with each member of the crew or anyone who's sending a research project, because you can submit a research project to go on a mission, even if you're not going on the mission. You can send your research with the crew, and they provide support for that whole process, making sure that the research is ready when the mission begins, tracking all of the informed consents or anything like that that's needed, as well as procurement of materials, and then also providing support for post-mission products. So the RCT is it's an amazing experience. And currently, I don't think actually any of the students on the RCT have been on the crew. So this is a really great way for them to learn the research process, and then as they gain familiarity with it, they often will come up with a research idea and feel confident to start their own research process. So it's kind of a pipeline as well. I know I'm running out of time. I just wanted to share with you, these are the results. Some of the research publications and presentations specifically from 2022. In 2022, we actually supported 4 capstone thesis projects, which we're really proud of. We have several blog articles. We typically do a blog article after each mission, highlighting, like a mission report, kind of highlighting how it went and crew perspectives. We've got some great ones there. These blog articles are all published on AMU Edge, and so we hope that you'll look for them and maybe read through some of them if you'd like to know a little bit more. And then we have had the opportunity to do several conference presentations, both at CISA and at the Mars Society Convention last year, which is fantastic. Gave our students the opportunity to get practice doing an actual formal presentation of research for a group of peers, which is just an amazing experience for, so vital, I think, for a graduate student to have that experience, and then just fantastic for an undergraduate to get that experience so early in their career. So I love that they got to do that. This is just advertisement. I know I'm out of time, so I'm going to just go past this. We have some missions coming up. For 2023, we want to thank the Research Grad Office and the Department of Space Studies and everyone for all of their support. And in the 1 minute that I have left, I want to just share with you, we would love for you to follow us. Our mission blogs are posted on the website and then on our social media pages, as well as we have a YouTube channel where we do like live streams. We'll post videos from the habitat as well as some other things. And along those lines, I also want to just advertise from our MDRS mission. One of our crew members, one of our students, is actually a videographer. He was the crew journalist on the mission. And as part of his capstone project, he has created a 1-hour documentary on the mission experience entitled Analog. And it is going to premiere, it's going to be released for the first time tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I have the link here, but I also have, let's see, did I make a slide with it? No, I didn't. Okay, well, I also have, and I'll add it to the chat. I also have a little flyer that has a QR code you can scan to look at it. So we would love to just let you guys know about that. And, if you're interested in watching it, we would love to give you the opportunity to do that. And I've seen it. I've seen a rough draft version of it. It's amazing. I'm so impressed with what they did. So with that, I think that is my 15 minutes. So I will pause and see if there are any questions.
I will say Dr. Alban was on top of it with, posting all the social
thank you,
links.
Ed. He put the flyer in for me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes,
Yeah.
that's the flyer. So you can, for the documentary, if anyone wants to download it and watch it tomorrow morning. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Excellent.
And I haven't really.
Kristen, do you mind going back to the upcoming missions in case anybody wants to look at those?
Yeah.
We do have 15 minutes here, of course, to help answer questions.
Okay.
So I'm always interested in what's coming up next for you all.
Yeah, and I'm happy to talk about it for a minute if I can. So we're really excited about these. So first we have down here in the lower left, we have our 4I and 5I missions. So those are both to ILMA. This is a nice picture of the outside of the habitat. So it's an inflated structure. So this sort of, it kind of looks inflated, this little blown up pieces. These are the different modules of the habitat. And then the vehicle in front that's sort of connected is the rover. UND has an actual rover you can use during your EVAs or extravehicular activities, as well as the spacesuits that you saw in some of the pictures. So we have our spring mission is actually starting on June 4th. They will enter the HAB. And then our fall mission, we haven't completely scheduled yet. We're actually recruiting crew members for it right now, but it will be sometime in likely late September to early October. That's when we usually do that mission. The 1S mission here, this is a partnership that we're pursuing. We're in talks with SAM. SAM is the new name for Biosphere 2. Some people may have heard of Biosphere, which was the year-long mission that people lived in this pressurized habitat. And they've created Biosphere 2 in Arizona, which is it's an amazing facility. It's just barely opened, and we are in talks with the director, Kai Statz, to bring an ARG mission there for probably maybe like an 8-day mission. And then our big adventure that we're currently working on is the launch of what we are calling our pirate missions. So analog missions, you notice that the others are all the AARG. The pirate missions stands for Paired In Situ Research Analog something. Shoot, I should have written this down. It might say on the next slide. Let me see. No, it doesn't. Okay. Oh, here we go. Paired In Situ Analog Testing Environment. And so what these are is this is going to be an mission to the Aquarius Reef habitat, which was used by NASA for their NEMO missions. If anyone's heard of NEMO, a lot of astronauts have trained there. FIU, Florida International University, runs it. And unfortunately, the habitat has suffered enough damage from hurricanes over the past few years that it is no longer able to be used as for prolonged human habitation. So what that means is that it is now what they call an ambient laboratory. So you can dive down and perform research in the environment, but no one is allowed to stay overnight for an extended analog mission. So what we came up with, because there's still some amazing research opportunities that you can do down in this habitat, even though you're not on an official analog mission over, a 2-week period. And where we are a research group, we thought, we can work with this. So it's not an ARG mission. The ARG missions are the analog missions, the 1 to 2 week missions. The pirate missions are research focused, where you go in with the crew and you do a specific research project that is unique to that environment. And you work on that research even though you're not living in a crew format. So it's a little bit more flexible. It can be we have a lot more flexibility in terms of the number of days that it lasts, in terms of the projects we can do. We're really excited to start a whole line, I guess, of pirate missions to places like Aquarius, and possibly the students are, talking about maybe the Arctic or something like that. Some of these places where we wouldn't be able to do a traditional analog mission, but where there is still an amazing experience to be had and some really cool research to be done. So this one is in the works. We've got an agreement with the Aquarius people for January 3rd through 11th of next year. We've got some people interested on the crew here from our group, and so we're working on developing more research, but this is the research that we're talking about right now. Some hyperbaric physiology studies, some underwater electrolysis, as well as underwater drone operations. So it's kind of exciting. We're pretty excited to launch the pirate missions, and we're hoping this will go well. It's a fun experiment, and one that we hope will really benefit our students. So and give us an additional direction for ARG to go. Yeah.
Awesome. What a great thing to see, the growth and change of ARG over time. It's been a real pleasure to see that. Do we have any questions for Dr. Miller about what's going on, what's coming up next? Feel free to hop off mute or put them in the chat if you like.
How would you say the Mars mission differed from the lunar-based missions in terms of like what the students were doing, or just how the habitat impacted them?
So it was really interesting doing a mission at MDRS. It's in some ways, so the location in Hanksville, Utah, which you can kind of see if I go back on the slide to the picture with it. You step out of the habitat and you look like you're on Mars. It just feels like Mars with that red rock and this barren landscape. And so it adds a degree of realism. You're also incredibly isolated there. There's like nothing for miles in any direction, which is not true of the University of North Dakota campus, obviously. So in some ways, that was really amazing. In some ways, and it did have some facilities that ILMA doesn't have, like the observatory, the Green Hab, which is the larger dome structure here, is enormous. So there's a lot more room to do the plant studies. So there were some elements to it that were unique to the MDRS situation. In some ways, though, it's less high fidelity than ILMA, because ILMA has the pressurized rover and ILMA has the spacesuits. The University of North Dakota works with NASA in their spacesuit development. And so the spacesuits that you use there, they're 3D printed, and they're actually, analogous to what NASA is looking at for the next generation of spacesuits. So that is kind of, that's a high fidelity aspect to ILMA, even though you don't have the location and, some of the other benefits. So there's good and bad with each one. MDRS let us bring a larger crew, which was fantastic for the students. MDRS also has their own mission control, which if you watch the video, the students will talk about it a lot. That is not ARG run. We run our own mission control for ILMA, and we're in charge. And here we had to comply with the Mars Society rules and their mission control, which was a very different experience. So, there's good and bad, but we learned a lot from this. Overall, we would love to go back one day. It's an amazing facility, and it was a great experience. So yeah, thank you. Thanks for asking.
And Stacy Tucker has a question here. How do you determine the time frame of missions?
Oh, that's a really good question. So For ILMA, we're actually a little bit constrained because in the winter, it freezes and North Dakota is buried with snow. And so they shut the habitat down because they worry about their pipes. So they completely shut it down by about mid-October through like beginning of April. I mean, it's a harsh climate in North Dakota. So it kind of limits us to a spring and fall mission. Also, they don't have, air conditioning inside the habitat. And even though North Dakota doesn't get, super hot, it gets hot enough in a closed environment that it's uncomfortable in there. And so they like not to do missions during the summer months. So we have a little window in the spring and in the fall, and they've been really great to give us a little 2-week window in each of them. With ILMA, we set the dates in kind of a conversation. We say, when are your missions planned, and when, what dates can we have? This is what works for our crew. They're very flexible. With MDRS, it's a different beast. You submit an application. It's at least a year before you're going to be assigned a date, and you are given a date. And they will say, we are offering you this slot, and you either accept it or you don't go on the mission. And that's just kind of the way it is. It was ARG 1M. We're also designated as crew 274. That's the MDRS numbering, because they have had almost 300 crews come through their habitat. They run year round. And so there's a little less flexibility there, which is, it's a trade-off, right? Trade-off. Yeah. Yeah. So David, yeah, there's not a lot for miles around in North Dakota, but the habitat in North Dakota is actually on the campus. So it's literally a rugby field adjacent to the campus. So the actual location, I mean, there is a lot of nothing in North Dakota, but that's not where the habitat is located, unfortunately. So, right. But anyway, if there are any more questions, I thank you all for coming and for listening. I hope that that was interesting, at least to learn a little bit about this endeavor. I'm just going to leave up our social just for a moment in case anybody wants to jot them down or just keep in mind for them. You can find them mostly, like, you don't need the actual link. You can find them by just searching, like APUS Analog Research Group on LinkedIn or APUS ARG on Instagram, for example. But we're real active on social media during the missions. We do daily posts, and we're trying to be active on off times. We tend not to be as much. So, hang tight, because we're about to start our mission in June, and you'll start to see some really cool posts coming through there. So we'd love it if anyone interested is welcome to follow and share that information. So thank you so much. Thank you for letting me tell you a little bit about our program, and especially thank you to the Graduate Research Office for their support, because we would not be able to do these missions without those resources. So that's kind of all I have.
All right. Thanks so much, Dr. Miller. Always a great time. Very excited to see the documentary premiere.